Now to Pittsburgh, where Bill Clinton made a campaign stop talking about manufacturing, college debt, corporate tax, and immigration. This is about 40 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. Let me ask you something. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Didn't Congressman Mike Doyle do a great job for Hillary? I thank you so much, and I want to thank your county executive, Rich Fitzgerald, who's here. Give him a hand. And Senator Jay Costa, Senator Jim Brewster, Representative Ed Gainey, Representative Jake Wheatley, Reverend Ricky Burgess, thank you for being here. Councilman DeWitt Walton, County Chair Nancy Patton Mills, thank you very much. I want to thank the Pittsburgh Coliseum for letting us use the space. Thanks to the Community Empowerment Association and the Safe Passage After School Program for helping with our team's art project, which you see around here. I also want to say that I am very aware that while I'm here, there's a funeral service going on for Reverend Eugene Freedom Blackwell. And I'm very aware that although none of us know the hour of the day, cancer claimed his life too soon when he was doing a world of good. And I am very aware that he spent his life building bridges instead of walls. So what I would like to say, what I always try to say when someone younger than me passes away, is that the rest of us have to live for them a little. None of us know. When I turned 70 a couple weeks ago, I became the oldest in my family for 3 generations, and I had no earthly idea it would happen when I was a child. It was a miracle of medicine. And we get all caught up in knots in these campaigns, everybody's calling names, and you forget, life is fleeting. And when you get older and you've got more yesterdays than tomorrows, you ought to be more upbeat and forward-looking, because every today counts more. Every today counts more. We should be thinking of how we can live for others and give younger people a better future. And I follow this campaign, and I realize that everybody has to worry about rating points, and people would rather see a fight than a discussion. But look, we got enough road rage in America today and all over the world. I think President Obama, and I want to thank you for voting for him twice, by the way, and I thank you. And I hope I have a little credibility on the economy. My opinion is, over the next few years, people will look back and give him more credit for what he did than they do now. Especially since so many people in Congress were trying to make sure that nothing happened. Whether it's on immigration reform or infrastructure or you name it. But the truth is, there's a lot of road rage, because that financial crash we had 8 years ago this month had a very long tail. And after inflation, 80% of our people have not had a pay raise. And well over 90% of the income gains have gone to just the top 1%. That's a long time. Most American families, including a lot of them in this part of Pennsylvania and south of here and north of here, after you adjust for inflation, are living on about what they were living on the last day I was president, and the cost of living has gone up. So we have to understand that we honor people's disappointment, their frustration. But when I was a little boy, my mother started teaching me, and it's taken me a lifetime to learn. Sometimes I still forget that you almost never make a good decision in anger. We got one candidate preaching anger and another one offering answers. One candidate rubbing salt in the open wounds of resentment, and the other taking responsibility to sew up the wounds, stand us up, and walk into the future. One candidate says, "I'll make America great again," and means by that, hey folks, I'm a white Southerner, I know exactly what it means. I will give you what you had 50 years ago in the economy, and I'll move you back up on the social totem pole and give you somebody to look down on. Hillary says it's time we tore the totem pole down and went forward together. Now, and the truth is, we live in an interdependent world, in an interdependent country. Our greatest asset going forward is that compared to other older big economies, we are younger, more diverse. We're more diverse racially, ethnically, religiously, in terms of our skills, in terms of our natural resources. There's something for everybody in America, but there's a lot of mismatches out there. So you have one choice of somebody who's offered you the kind of economy that makes us stronger together, one where we grow more and one where we grow fairer. And you got to do both. So one person is making you mad every day and saying, blame somebody else. And I grew up among the people who seem to like that the best today. I hope I'll be the last president ever to be able to say I spent some time as a little boy on a farm without indoor plumbing. It makes it, there may be one or two other people who can say that here. But you got to be pretty old to say that. But look, it's a great political story, but I promise you, in the wintertime, the outhouse is overrated. And depending on how far south you live, it's overrated in the summertime because you got to start looking for the snakes. Why am I telling you this? Because I want you to laugh. I think this is a wacky year, and anger's bad, but I want you to think about this. Saying I'll make it great the way it was 50 years ago ignores two things. First of all, it wasn't so great for a lot of people 50 years ago. If you were African American, if you were Latino, if you were a first generation immigrant, if you belonged to some religions, and if you were gay, forget about it. It just wasn't so great for some people. And secondly, saying I'll make it to was the way it used to be is like me saying I'd like to be 20 again. I would actually, you know. But I wouldn't vote for anybody who promised to make me 20 again. And so, look, what we need to do to grow faster and grow fairer is straightforward, affordable, achievable, and has been recognized by economic experts from the right to the left to be something that would produce a great jobs boom in America, both for people with college educations and non-college people. We need an infrastructure program that rebuilds the roads, the bridges, the ports, the airports, and the water systems. There are a lot of little babies all over this country drinking water with too much lead in it because the pipes are too old. If you took them all up and put things down that were clean and new, you'd create a ton of jobs and give all our children a healthier future. We need affordable rapid broadband in every rural community in America. There are 5 million children in this country, some of them living not too far from here, who get homework assignments in school that require them to get on the internet, and they cannot do it. She's the only person that's talked about this. We need a plan that recognizes that we can bring back manufacturing jobs. Do you know how many jobs have been brought back to America since the bottom of the crash under President Obama's presidency? 900,000. The other guys, you know what the net in-migration from Mexico to the United States was? All this wall talk from 2010 to the end of 2014? Minus 15,000. More people went home than came. Now they're having a tough economy now. It's fixing to get worse after that trip he took down there. But we're laughing, but it's a serious matter. If you're going to shoot at something, you at least need to have the right target. We got to make jobs. We can make manufacturing come back to America even more and more and more. But she's the only person with a serious plan to get modern manufacturing and to train people for it. She's the only person who said, yes, I'll help you get free college if your family income's less than $125,000, and I will help you get debt-free college, whatever your income is, if you're willing to work 10 hours a week. And I will, if you already have debt, I will help you pay it off. No matter how much you owe, you should be able to refinance that debt. A college loan is the only loan you cannot refinance. If that one proposal of Hillary's passed, just that one thing, overnight, 20 million Americans would save more than $2,000. Yes. I'll let you decide whether you want to pay this back with 3 or 4 years of public service-related employment, or if you don't or want to do that, or you can't, no matter how much you borrowed, you can turn your college debt into a home mortgage-like instrument. Pay it off over 20 years and never, ever, ever have to pay more than 10% of your after-tax income a month, no matter how much you owe. Now, we need to do that. She's the only person that says it's time for us to redignify skills training. There are more than 1 million jobs today, plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, a gazillion other things that are open today that do not require a 4-year degree, that are just going begging because there are no high-quality training programs in the area. So she wants us to invest in labor union training programs that are great. She wants us to invest in community-based training union programs that are great. And she wants to offer a whole new deal to corporate America. I will support cutting your taxes if you will leave your jobs here, invest in internships, in training, and share your profits with your employees. I want you to pay less. But if you're willing to do what Carrier did in Indiana, I don't know if you read about that. They had a division that made $2.9 billion last year, profitable. The profit margins were going up, and they still voted to shut it down, throw 2,100 people out of work, and move to Mexico for short-term gain. You know why? Because too many of these companies are being almost terrorized by big short-term investors that demand a profit in the stock price after a year and a day. Now, is this good business? Actually, it's not. And a lot of these companies pay the chief executive officer a big, big chunk of his income or her income based on whether they make that target in a year and a day. You cannot run any business on that and expect it to be strong over the long run. The companies in this country that are run for the benefit of their customers, their employees, their communities, and their stockholders, all the stakeholders, over any 5 to 10 year period are doing markedly better than these companies that are throwing people under the bus to get an annual hike in the share price. So she believes we have to switch back to a stakeholder place where we all count. And we ought to reward companies that do that. There are lots of them. And they're not all run by Democrats. Some of them are run by Republicans. This is not a partisan deal. This is what you think is good business. We know that people who take care of their employees and take care of their communities make more money. We know that people who let the finance tail wag the business dog may look like they're making more money because they take their profits and buy back the stock, jack the price up, then the people that have been terrorizing them at the board of directors meeting sell the stock, put the money in the bank, and that's what happens. One of the things that made its life so hard for President Obama is we kept creating all these jobs, but only 61 cents of corporate revenue were going to pay and benefits. When I was president, the average was about 66 cents. Now, we finally created enough more jobs that the labor movement started tightening the labor market, and we got up 62.5 cents, and that's why wages have been going up a little bit in the last year or so. But we ought to live in a country where we say, we're not anti-business, we think you can be pro-business and pro-labor. We want you to make a profit, otherwise we can't have jobs. But we don't want you to pony up the profit every year by throwing people under the bus. We want you to be able to sell overseas. We're only 4% of the world's population. We got to sell something to the others. We recognize that it may be economical for you to open a new plant somewhere else, but don't shut down a profitable one here just to make a cheap profit in a year and throw people in the street. Look, I was a governor for 12 years, and Hillary went through all this with me. When a plant closed in my state, I tried to go there on the last day. First thing I did when I got reelected in 1982 was an old Singer sewing machine plant that had been there since the 1920s. Was closing. I went there and I shook hands with all 600 people when they walked off the shift for the last time. And guess what? No one was mad at them in the community because they couldn't make money anymore, because the economy had moved on. So you had these hardworking people not demonstrating, not angry, saying, Governor, find us something else to do. These people stayed with us all those decades. We respect them. We wish them well. But they can't make money doing this anymore. That happens. But what Carrier did is not that. They said, oh, we can make plenty of money here, but we can't make as much money next year and pay the top management their bonuses and keep these wolves of short-term gain at the door. So Hillary said, you want to cut business taxes? Be good to everybody, and I'll be cut for cutting your taxes. Train people, share profits with them, invest in America, we'll have lower taxes. Try to take it away, I want you to pay more so I can retrain these people and put them back to work doing something else. And she's the only person you can vote for. It's got a plan for that. Now I want to say one other thing. We all know how her opponent's done real well down in West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky because the coal people don't like any of us anymore. They all voted for me. I won twice, and they did well. And they blame the president when the sun doesn't come up in the morning now. And so Hillary's opponent says, well, this climate change is just a Chinese hoax. Well, I just got back from Florida, folks. And there are Republican mayors down there who are supporting Hillary for president because, wait. Because they know it's not a hoax, because the sea levels are rising and they got to figure out how to get people's houses elevated and how to build back and how to keep from being overcome by this. The people in coal country have a beef with all politicians, but it's not denying climate change. The beef is this. Coal employment in America peaked in 1920. Coal production east of the Mississippi peaked in 1950. For the last 30 plus years, more and more coal has been taken out of Wyoming because it's closer to the surface and lower in sulfur content. Then we get the natural gas boom. So the Marcellus Shale contributes to lower incomes in coal country because it's cheaper and it's less polluting. Then the global recession and warmer winters meant you couldn't sell so much of it overseas anymore. So all this is being blamed on President Obama's climate change policies, and those rules have not even taken effect yet. But I don't want you to laugh. I understand that these people, look, a lot of you will identify this. When I was born in Arkansas at the end of World War II, our income was 56% of the national average, barely half. And I made a list the other day about how many different things I'd done to earn a living in my life. And I don't know, it's just shy of 30. I had a hard time holding jobs sometimes. But I never looked in the mirror when I got up in the morning and wondered whether I could make tomorrow better than yesterday. And when Hillary and I married and our daughter was born, I never had one day where I looked in the mirror and didn't think I could give my daughter a better future. You have millions of our fellow citizens who get up every single day and look in the mirror and think, oh my God, all my tomorrows are going to be just like yesterday. I can't do anything to change my own circumstances. I can't do anything to help my kids. This drug epidemic's running wild. We've got all these problems. What we need to do is get better at nipping these problems in the bud. We should have done more a decade ago to help these people get out of the mess they're in. But you can't do it. So during the primary, I went down to eastern Kentucky and southern West Virginia, and I had all the Trump people out there demonstrating against me, and everything. I said, hey guys, come inside and demonstrate. You did well when I was president. Come on inside. At least, let's have a talk. And I said, here's what I came down to tell you. You vote for whoever you want to. You can't have what you had 50 years ago, but if you believe it, have at it. What Hillary sent me to tell you is we need to all go into the future together. We really are stronger together. So if she wins, she's coming back for you too, and don't you forget it. And she's the only person you can vote for. The only person who's actually offered a serious plan to give people real incentives to invest in coal country, in Indian country, and in neighborhoods like this one. In cities that have been left out and left behind, and in small towns in rural America. This drug epidemic that you are all too familiar with is an equal opportunity, multiracial, bipartisan murderer. I have had the sad duty over the last couple of years to call 5 friends of Hillary's and mine who have lost their children. That's just us. One family lives on our block in New York. But this is the only one in my lifetime where the addiction rates are higher in small town and rural America than they are in urban America. Why? Because there are too many people getting up in the morning, looking in the mirror, thinking, I can't make tomorrow better than yesterday. So she was the first person to say, here's the plan for drug treatment and prevention. Here's the plan for comprehensive mental health. And here's the plan for investing in these areas so people do have something to look forward to when they get up in the morning. We need answers, not anger, and she's the only candidate offering them. So, I realize I'm not very good about talking about what's in the headlines, but I happen to think this election's about you.
Yes, it is.
I understand why there are a lot of votes in Mr. Trump's statements about immigrants, but I live in a county with an unemployment rate under 5%, and we'd have a recession if they sent all those people home. So I agree with President Obama and with Hillary that if somebody is law-abiding, working hard, paying taxes, the last thing we ought to do is break up their families, send their kids out of school, send them home, and bring a recession about in America and spend $100 billion doing it. What we ought to do is to say, we pass a reform program that settles people down, recognizes that this contributes to our economy, and our youth and diversity are our biggest asset for the 21st century. We're going to get more money out of the future because we're younger. So in order to grow more and fairer, we also got to live together better. We need to expand voting rights, not restrict them. One of the reasons you ought to vote for Hillary is because you'll get a new Supreme Court judge or two. And we need to get rid of Citizens United and restore voting rights. I get so tickled every time I hear one of these guys make one of these pie speeches. I don't really want to keep people of color from voting. I just don't want any voter fraud. I'll tell you one thing. I'd like to give a medal to that Republican official here in Pennsylvania. He's the only person that told the truth. You bet we're trying to make it harder for people to vote who don't vote for us while we cut down President Obama's margin 5 points last time. At least he fessed up. I mean, if a guy's sticking it to you, you kind of got to respect him. So they'll just say, yeah, I'm sticking it to you. Yeah, I think there should be one set of rules for me and another set for you. It's not the American way, but it's what's going on. So here's the deal. Since 2000, more than 800 million votes have been cast in the United States. The Justice Department in Washington has a special division to deal with voter fraud. You know how many credible claims there have been of fraudulent IDs since 2000? 35. 1 in 23 million. So obviously we needed all this effort made, right? Because it was only to purify our elections. If you believe that, I got some land I'd like to sell. The point is, if we're not willing to live together and work together, we're not going to grow faster and grow fairer. So Hillary's slogan, Stronger Together, is about more than a campaign slogan. Look, I get it. All over the world, people saying this togetherness is maybe edgy. You know, we got these episodic acts of terror. We got people who worship differently than we do. They seem to believe things I don't. We got all this social change, and guys started to just say, I want to go inside and close the door. I get it. First time your child came home from school and got bullied at school or slipped on the way home and had a bleeding knee, you just want to go inside and close the door. But you can't do it. We are in the best position of any country in the world for the next 30 years. But we got to build on what has happened in these last 8 years and claim a new century of American greatness. So, you got the only candidate who's ever actually offered you credible plan. You've got economic analysis from John McCain's economic advisor, who makes a living analyzing things like this. And he said, well, if her plan passes, at a minimum, you'll get 10.5 million jobs more than you would if it doesn't. And if his plan passes, the billionaires will get big tax cuts, but at a minimum, you'll lose 3.5 million jobs. So when you hear people say that, what have I got to lose? Tell them 14 million jobs, thank you very much, and we don't want to lose them. What have you got to lose? 2/3 of all the new jobs come from small business. I support this bill the president signed, the Dodd-Frank bill. It keeps Wayne Street from wrecking Wall Street, but there has been too much restraint on small business lending. Every year that I had the honor to serve, and we were growing together, and unemployment was going down, and we balanced the budget, and incomes from people increased more percentage-wise the further you went down the income stream. Every year, we were in the top 5 countries in the world in new small businesses. We are not in the top 10 now. And I will oversimplify, but if you were running a bank and it cost you as much to process a $50,000 loan for somebody that wanted to open an organic bakery down the street as it does to process a $5 million loan or a $50 million loan, you wouldn't make as many $50,000 loans. So Hillary is the only person you can vote for who's actually explained this and said, here's how I'm going to simplify these rules. Here's how we're going to cut taxes for new businesses when they start. And if young people who owe college debt and they can't qualify for loans can get the loan, we will suspend all their debt repayment for the first 3 years they're running their business. And you get the idea. I mean, she's the only person that actually told you what she's going to do. Everybody else, and there are lots of independent actors, not just the candidates in this campaign, nobody else seems to want this election to be about you. You ever hear these debates? You wonder, why are they talking about that? This is about you. Can we get more jobs? Can we get more businesses? Can we raise incomes? And can we do it together? Do you believe we should do it by being stronger together or by building walls? Can we make America safer and stronger? There was an interesting article yesterday in one of the newspapers analyzing the military leaders who had endorsed her and the ones who had endorsed her opponent. And they said she has more senior military leaders. On average, they're younger and they're more closely in touch with the security challenges we faced. One of them, a Greek-American former commander of NATO, said that he appreciated the fact that Mr. Trump wanted to spend a little more money on the military, I mean a lot more, but he said we don't need that much more. We just got one or two things we need to do better in. He said the military is not a disaster, it's a treasure, and we should honor it, not ridicule it. And we should honor the parents of fallen soldiers no matter what their religion is. And he said, but then he said an interesting thing. He said, I wore the uniform of this country for 35 years. And I can tell you, we are not going to kill our way out of this crisis. We're going to have to work our way, argue our way, and win our way out of this because of our belief that we're stronger together, which means that it is absolutely crazy to go around terrifying and alienating American Muslims who love freedom, hate terror, work themselves to the bone, raise their kids with good values, and are trying to build a better life here. We need everybody to work together to help us beat this problem. So that's it. This is a really simple choice, but when you read the paper every day, it's just about who can say the worst thing about who else, isn't it? And it's not just the candidates, like I said. It's like, you know, just surely there's something I can think bad to say about you today. We are celebrating the life of a man who died at 43 today. In church right now. His funeral is going on. This was brought to me by someone who went there first and came here. I have now lived 27 years longer than this man did. But he gave 43 good years. And so here's what I want you to think about tomorrow. Don't you want to live in this neighborhood where no young African-American male is afraid to walk the streets and walk out? Whoa, wait, let me finish. And don't you want to live in a neighborhood where when you see a policeman or a woman in a uniform, you're glad to see them because they're helping your kids stay safe? You want both. His life. So tonight when you watch the news, tomorrow when you think about this man's life. He was playing football at Pitt. He probably thought he'd live to be 90. He didn't know the day or the hour, but he made a huge difference in his life. And he didn't make it by ignoring the real life, flesh and blood challenges of the people in his church and the people in his community. We got to get real about this election again. This is about you and your children and your future. And the only two things that can keep us from having, I think, the best 30, 40 years this country's had maybe ever in terms of economic and social progress, massive discovery. Everybody in this audience under 30 years old has a legitimate chance to live to be 100, and to live to be 100 without the threat of Alzheimer's or other dementia because of all these advances, and they will create tons of jobs. I think we're on the verge of this. We gotta pick a good leader, and then we can't be derailed by political gridlock in Washington or economic and social turmoil around the world. She ought to be president. If you watch that Commander-in-Chief program on CNN, she ought to be president because she's the only one with the standing and the understanding to keep us safe and give us space enough to grow our way out of this mess we're in. So I ask you, go out and talk to your friends and neighbors about this. People say, oh, everything I read's bad. I think I'll stay home. Doesn't make any difference. Oh, yes, it does. It makes 14 million jobs worth of difference. It makes the minimum wage, equal pay, and family leave worth a difference. It makes being able to pay off that college loan without bankrupting yourself and being able to move out of your parents' house worth a difference. It makes all the difference. Don't substitute anger for answers. Don't substitute resentment for responsibility. Remember, empowerment comes from being stronger together. We can do it. You can do it. But Hillary, to do it, has to win Pennsylvania, and that's you. Thank you, and God bless you.